Family business is something I feel is very beautiful. There are no hard and fast rules in a family business because how it runs and how it steers depends on yourself and the family members around you.
Hi, Ellen. Welcome to Chico.
Thank you, Shreya. Thank you for having me.
Can you share a bit more about yourself?
For a start, my name is Ellen. I run Union Energy Corporation. It's a family business. I've been doing this for the last 27 years. Besides that, I'm also a mother of four, and my kids are young adults. So I actually have, I'm quite immersed in the business right now. So first part of my journey, I was doing the LPG gas business for 20 odd years. 6 years ago, we saw that there's an opportunity in the market to do electricity retailing and subsequently solar into renewables. So that's where I am right now.
You said that you're in a family business. Were you always in the family business or how did the transition happen?
Oh, yes, good question, Shreya. So I didn't intend to come into the family business in the first place. It was during the financial crisis that, gave me the opportunity. I was kind of like an accidental leader. This when I graduated in the year 1998. There was a lot of opportunities for me outside. But however, the business, the family needed me to come back and to help because at that point in time, we were at the brink of collapse. We had a lot of debt and we had a business that was not going well. We didn't have a lot of control and there was cost overrun and coupled with a lot of uncertainty because of the financial crisis. So I was called to, stick to help in the business. And I thought that, okay, let me get ready my CV. After 2 years, I may be out doing what I really like to do. But the 2 years became like, 5, 10. It just didn't have an exit clause for me. My contract didn't have an exit clause. So I stayed on. And it has been a very enjoyable journey, to be honest, Ria. And I urged everybody who has a family business for them to just dive in because you never know what it brings you and where it's going to bring you. And when I started, I was just looking into like the LPG business and I thought this is a sunset industry. How can I turn this? But an opportunity came about. We're doing merger and acquisition all of a sudden, in the finance, in the numbers game, in operations. So it it just became a roller coaster journey and it gives you a lot of gratification actually to see that a lot of process, a lot of your ideas have been implemented and the change that you are in control to bring about. It is something that I believe I couldn't get this in the corporate world. And when you are in the business long enough, you gain industry knowledge, then you are able to identify opportunities that will come along, opportunities that you want to grab and you will want to realize. So that's where we came into electricity retailing business, and subsequently because of the landscape and the climate change in the industry that give rise to renewables that presents where am I today. So back in the days where we did the LPG business, it was a sunset industry in a way. Everybody thought it was a sunset industry. But we made it different. We digitized the business, we digitized the process, and we made ourselves more competitive than the rest of our players. And that gave rise to opportunities to do M&A. And then give rise to the economies of scale that we are able to do a lot more than traditional business owner. And then you dive into branding, you dive into people talent retention. So the many the many verticals that I would have touched, I have gone into is something that I think corporate world will not present this. Yeah.
You spoke about the family business journey that you embarked on gave you a lot of self-trust. You also presented opportunity to innovate, to disrupt, and to do mergers and acquisition. This in the surface looks very exciting. what was happening in the background? How do you go from taking over the business and I want to bring into this innovation? What kind of conversations were you were you experiencing with the family?
I think my entry was quite a turning point for myself rather than for the company. Because I didn't realize I had so much, I wouldn't say expertise, had so much courage to learn and unlearn things, to make changes. And I also didn't realize that, each opportunity presents itself as another gate to another world. So this is something that I personally feel that the challenges drive my everyday energy. And in a nutshell, I have taken the path, less trodden. And it was hard. It was tough. I didn't, I can't share with you in detail what went through in my mind. I just knew that I had to do it. Every day I had to run faster than others in order to, be there first, in order to make sure that our ecosystem is intact and still alive. So at that point in time when we did merger and acquisition, I didn't have finance background. So what do? Talk to people who are there and and hire for that matter. You just have to equip yourself with things that you don't have. Yeah, in order to make things, to turn things around. Being in that position is a hot seat. You make it or you break it. So it was tough, but I must say very challenging because cannot turn things around on your own. You must have a team,
Hmm.
and communication is really key. Getting your vision there and the understanding of why has to be downloaded, to the minds of the people that you work with in order for them to run that distance with you. So the purpose of of each action has to be really, really communicated clearly. And besides that, there's a lot of other fringe activities that you have to tackle, like the emotional well-being, the psychological well-being, and what ticks for them and what doesn't. You just have to have different strokes. There's no one single stroke for the same, you know, for all of the people that you
Hmm.
deal with. So we just tried. Yeah.
The gas and the renewable energy industry, it looks very male dominated. Have you experienced the same from your lens?
Strangely enough, this doesn't really deter me because as when I started in the gas business, I was very young. My compatriots were all quite senior. They didn't view me as a threat, to be honest. In fact, I kind of learned quite a fair bit. And being a female in this industry, I felt that I had the advantage. And being young as well, I had the advantage of being humble, being humble enough to ask questions and not feeling that I would sound stupid. I don't think that there's ever a moment that I felt that asking a question was really stupid because you just ask. And if they felt that, you know, they can help you with it, you just do it. But the most important thing is to give them that respect that they are industry veterans and you wanted to learn something and they will help you along the way. So with renewables, it's the same because of my situation and my gender as a female. It's very rare, but however, people are willing to talk to you if you're humble and you ask them for help. I just think that not our environment is such that when you present yourself in a not so aggressive manner and people are willing to hold that conversation with you and actually exchange information. So this is how I have benefited over the years. And I think that being a female doesn't deter you from doing a lot of things. I mean, in the renewables industry, when I first started out, I climbed rooftops. I had to go do a lot of site visits myself because I need to learn. I needed to know. And if I don't know, how do I hire people? How do I set the process? Yeah. Being in the LPG industry is the same. I have to understand the entire process. Else, I wouldn't be able to digitize and then have a framework that, you know, gave rise to our size today. So I just think that there are a lot of ways to handle, when you feel that you felt inferior as a woman in the industry. You don't have to show it. You just have to be more confident, be humble.
Through whatever it is that you said, one thing that's really stood out to me that you're an eternal optimist. You've spoken about like so many words that I'm getting from you. You spoke about self trust, you spoke about self confidence, you spoke about having that vision that when you're young, be more hungry. If you're humble, people will help you. If you don't see that someone is looking you as a threat, then it would be easier for you to move forward. How do you see, how do you have a different perspective? Because it's very easy to say that, and anyone could say it, right? That, oh, this is such a male dominated industry, but I've done this, but I've done that, right? But how do you have that, how can someone have that humble perspective that when even in a family business when they're going through a certain challenge, or even at work when they're going through a certain challenge, that they can step back and look at it from a different angle and tweak that situation?
I feel that self-awareness is very important, and at every time you need to be aware of your emotions and be very, very clear how you want to portray this and how you want to show this. So I have, in a way, I carry like a self-awareness thermometer. There's a happy, there's a glad, there is sad, there's an angry, there's a hurt. You know what? You just have to remind yourself which thermometer are we going to show today, and what are we going through. That if we are carrying a hurt, how can we, all right, reorganize this energy so that it doesn't hurt somebody, it doesn't cause more hurt to yourself. So you have to be first very self-aware of your emotions. When you look at something that didn't go right, it went wrong, horribly wrong. The first instance, the spark is there. You get angry because the temperature goes up. But is this really something you want to do? You ask yourself first. What can you achieve by being upset, angry? What can you achieve after that? So instead of channeling that heat, right, you kind of like having the heat heating up, you just channel it into something. How can we resolve this? Think of a solution, and then you'll get you along the way. Because if you just keep channeling things that are negative, you're hurting yourself and the greater environment, the people around you, with hurtful words, with unnecessary, suspicious or malicious thoughts. And this is not going to work. And I kind of know that I should not dwell in this, because you will keep sinking lower and lower and lower. And you will find it hard to swim up later. So I would not let myself sink to the bottom. The moment I felt myself sinking, I would try to calibrate and I'll swim up. So this is how I always been telling myself to be very aware of the emotions. Yeah, because whatever angry words that comes out, angry actions that comes out, you cannot take it back. Yeah, focus on resolution and calibrating yourself. I think that is the key thing. I mean, if you know my sister or my family members, they would tell you, Ellen sees rainbows every day. I try to be honest, I try to. Yeah, and I am generally helping, managing my own emotions that actually help me be very uplifting every day. Yeah.
For someone who feels stuck in a family business, or for someone who is afraid to get into their family business, what is one piece of advice that you would give them?
A family business is something I feel is very beautiful. There are no hard and fast rules in a family business, because how it runs and how it steers depends on yourself and the family members around you. I mean, there are charters, there are corporate governance, but at the end of the day, it's the heart and the soul that's driving it. And in family business, if you realize there is a lot of heart and that there's a lot of soul in that, simply because everybody has skin in the game. Everybody is, you know, entrusted with this so-called weight to carry on and make it better. Nobody wants to inherit a family business and run it down. So it's, to me, a family business is very different from corporate. In a corporate setting, you maybe just finish your reporting 9 to 6 and you're off. You're allowed not to take your phone calls on a holiday or when you're on trips. But that's it because you don't have skin in the game. All right. But in a family business, everybody has vested interests, be it monetary gains, emotional vesting. People generally want to do better. Nobody wants to see it fail. So for those who already had a family business and thinking very hard whether to plunge in, I think I will urge those to really, really take stock of. First ask yourself, why do you want to do that? Why do you want to go in? Do you have enough vested interest to want to turn things around? Because if you're just an employee in a family business, it's very hard. It's very hard. But if you have a vested interest and you want to generally turn things around, and get your family business into a higher level, just jump in. And you have ideas, you have that motivation, that urge to move things, please go ahead. Yeah. And it's sad when you see, and I see it all the time when, you know, there's a family business that's thriving, quite decent, but the children just didn't see you know, the value of it. And in my course of work over the last 3 to 4 years, I've seen a lot of family business either tear themselves down or they sold it to a foreign player, which is doing better. So I ask myself, why? What is it that people don't see in their family that can elevate this? Because for me, I know from the start that after about 5 years, I realized that I'm standing on shoulders of giants, and I think I could the sky's the limit. I should be doing that rather than, standing on ground up and starting all over again. And there are opportunities along the way when you stay vested, when you stay vested in the business, there will be opportunities along the way that many doors will open for you. But that is not a given. You have to work very hard for it. Yeah. So when people felt that they go into a family business, it's given, they have flexibility of time and all that, I think that's asking for too much. Because when I started that, I really invested a lot of my time. And I do not have, my only rest day is Sunday. And I even Sundays sometimes is work. And but it's through all this that build resilience. Yes, sometimes people will say, I need a break, I need a downtime. But it gives you that opportunity to build that resilience and gives you that clarity in time to come. How not to have this issue recurring and how you have the power to change it. So I felt that the empowerment that I have in the corporate world, you will not get that when I'm in that position.
Would you want your legacy to move forward?
Mm. Yes, I would love to have my legacy move forward. And in this modern day, right, there are many ways and many platforms and instruments that we can use to have the legacy move forward. And I understand that my children may not be, adequate. It all depends on what they want to do in future. And I'm not stopping them because for myself, I had this obligation to come back to serve. That was because of circumstantial, situational issue. But in my children's time, it shouldn't be the case. They have a choice. But nevertheless, legacy can be formed in different instruments. Just sharing, there would be like professionals, all right, that could come in, and we can still continue the legacy of the business. But to be fair, usually in a family setup, one or two family members has to be in there to actually drive the whole vision to make sure that legacy and our values are intact. So I just don't think that I would force it upon my children or any other family members to continue that legacy. But I will wish for the legacy to be continued. Simply because when I grew up, and this has been transferred to me. When we grew up in a gas business, you would know that, during the festive season, like Chinese New Year, it's the busiest time of the year for us. And for many years, I can't count how many, I lost count. For many years, we are the family that starts dinner at 9 o'clock, 9 p.m. or even 9:30. Okay. Because we have to make sure that all our customers and all the deliveries are completed before we have our own reunion dinner. And that wasn't a big deal for us because we know that we need to deliver that promise to all the household. They should be the one that, is waiting for this dinner to be served. So we make sure things are going through. And many a times during the one of the dinner, we had like calls. When we start early, we had calls. Oh, I ran out of gas. Could you please help us when we were still small? And our
Mm.
operations were still small. And my brother or my dad would just stop, drop, and just deliver that. We felt that this value of this commitment transpire into us. It's ingrained. So whenever the that we have a issue with the customer, we will take it really seriously. And we actually quite ingrained in us in delivering the service quality and the promise. That's why when you ask me about the legacy, I thought, yes, I think this is a very good value that we need
Mm.
to, we need to let the next generation understand.
Yeah, because it sounds like that the entire country was a family of yours in a way that you wanted everyone to also enjoy their reunion dinners, and then you put yourself as second.
Yeah.
So I think anyone who wants to join a family business, they need to first have that sense of clarity and the purpose that business is trying to do. And another thing that you said, that have the clarity of your thought, then the communication gap wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
So if someone is going through a kind of a rift, or a difference in different generation, or struggling, how can they put forward their innovation? And you've done multiple innovations in the business since you've taken over.
And I felt being a woman, right, you can do this better, the emotional part better. Because in the business, I felt that a lot of times when my colleagues or other team members run into issues, they can't tell it to my father, they can't tell it to my brother, but they tell it to me. So I realized that it's an avenue for them to have a voice, and for us to internalize it and then take action and curate that whole issue. How can we resolve it for them? So I think being a woman is not all, it's really an advantage. I always see it as an advantage wherever I go, to be honest. I don't see myself any lesser than, other people. Yeah.
Well, Ellen, I've loved this conversation
Thank
thoroughly.
you very much.
Thank you so much for sharing the nuggets of wisdom that you have.
Thank you.
Really
Thank
appreciate
you
it.
for having me, Shreya. Appreciate it. Thank you.